towards the end of this conversation, we're going to announce the winners of audio category. But let's hear it from Mansi and Pooja, where they're going to have some really great conversation today. I am very excited for this. Not going to take too much time, but handing it over to Mansi.
Super. Thank you so much, Pavan, and thank you, Pepper Content, for doing such incredible events and coming up with such a stellar line of creators and always coming up with such innovative content, right? Pavan mentioned I'm the founder of kidstoppress.com, and I'm a podcaster as well, and an entrepreneur, and a friend to Pooja. And what I would love for all of you all to do who's watching is please to make sure that you take screenshots of this conversation and tag us, because then that'll help us understand which part of the segment that you found was most interesting, what were your key takeaways, and that'll be incredible for us to reflect. And hello and welcome to this incredible session on find your wavelength as a creator and entrepreneur. I have someone with me here today. I don't know if she needs an introduction at all, but I'm still going to do this. Pooja is as sophisticated a chef as they come, with training at top culinary schools like the Cordon Bleu. Her business Love 15 Patisserie won many accolades for the amazing confections. After an unfortunate lockdown induced slump, Pooja has reoriented her brand. Additionally, she's well known as a cookbook creator and is obviously known for her popular podcast, No Sugar Coat. We talked to her about her journey in audio creation and how she combines creation and entrepreneurship. Really tough question. I don't know. I don't know how many ifs to this, huh? Like how many other things that she does, guys. But let's hear it for Pooja. Pooja, you're used to these kind of introductions, so I'm not going to waste any time. I just want to get all the meat for everyone who's listening. How do you do it?
Hi, Mansi. How do I do it? I basically just try to use the things that life throws at me. I try to look at the crisis that I'm facing. I try to see how I can turn that into opportunities. And that's exactly how my podcast came about, 4 years ago, because I feel like everyone, I mean, on social media and out in the world, everyone only sees the glamorous side of entrepreneurship, right? You see all these lists and you see all these awards and you see all the fundraising and you see all of that, but that's literally just like 1% of everything that we go through as entrepreneurs, right? And I wanted to showcase those stories, and I wanted to talk about what my experience actually is like building a business, and really not sugarcoated at all. So that's how No Sugar Coat came to be. And I thought that if I'm going through all these issues and troubles and all of that, I'm 100% sure other entrepreneurs in the food business are going through that as well. And so the idea was, let's highlight stories behind food. And then that was season 1, and then season 2 just became about entrepreneurship in general, and now season 3 we go back to food. So it's been quite an interesting journey.
Right. Tell me, Pooja, as a multi-platform creator, right? You're creating on so many platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, podcasting, on Facebook, and of course, a lot of offline stuff and 100 other things. And of course, the book, right? How do you make sure that those who, how do you ensure that you're providing exclusive content on every platform? The person who's following you across platforms does not find it repetitive, and and also manage the size of it, right? Because some can be short form, some is snackable,
Exactly.
some is long tail. So
Yeah.
how do you manage all of it?
I think it's very intrinsic, and it also comes from understanding what the platform stands for, right? What is Instagram really good at? What is LinkedIn really good for? What can I do on YouTube that I can't really do well on Instagram? I think the biggest mistake most creators make is just cut, copy, paste their content and use the same across all platforms, right? I think for me, what's been interesting is to kind of see, okay, we all have so many different facets, and there are different platforms that can magnify them. So I feel like for me, it's been important to understand where my voice fits in with the different channels. So on LinkedIn, I talk about more about my work challenges. I talk about building a team, what that entrepreneurship journey has been. Instagram is great for like food content, right? So all my food content, someone, I spoke about Talk Pastry to me, Sangeeta. Hi. So, it's about learning through, different mediums. And I think with podcasting, especially, It's that long. I love consuming it. I don't know about you guys who are listening in, but just consuming long form, because I feel like that's when you really get beneath the surface and understand the creator and understand the person. So podcasting for me has been that, and I feel like that conversation between two people, and where you really feel like you're in a room with someone and really listening to them be vulnerable, talk about what they're going through. It's something that no other platform or no other medium can provide, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's how I kind of navigate through that.
Do you struggle for time to create the same or similar content for multiple platforms in a different, or do you follow a common thread in terms of doing it?
So
Because
I
it's
just do.
a time consuming process.
It's time consuming, and I kind of try to do very different things for different platforms. So for example, and it's not like and as much I try to be consistent, but I don't try to calendarize everything that I'm going to share on certain platforms, right? Like with Instagram or LinkedIn, I try to go with the flow and try to go with whatever I'm doing currently. But with the podcast or with like a series like Talk Pastry to me that I started, that needs to be planned in advance. So I like try to shoot everything, try to plan everything in one go, and then start releasing them slowly. So there's no pressure on you that I have to do this every week and I have to do so much of it. And it gets overwhelming when you have to choose and select so many things. I would also recommend like picking the one that brings you the most joy and where you feel like you're most where you're creating the most impact, and then focus on that specifically instead of trying to be the master of everything.
Right. And have you ever been guilty of getting swayed by a new format and trying it and then saying, dude, this is not my vibe and
Oh,
I want to.
of course. I mean,
I've
all of
seen you
us have been
struggle with
there.
Snapchat. So I know.
Snap. So interestingly, Snapchat was I was obsessed with about 5 years ago, and I had to literally stop myself because I love that format. I love stories, so I love Snapchat. And but the thing is, the platform has changed so much now. Like I logged into the app, and I was like, wait, what are all these things? There used to be only filters and really cute filters, and
Yeah.
now it's complex. So I think keeping up with all these updates is also really challenging.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Pooja, balancing between being a creator and being an entrepreneur. How are you managing that? Do you how do you keep both the sides of your brain aligned? And sometimes do you like sway on one side and you're like, I see your stories on the spreadsheets and I feel the pain. So I want to ask you about that.
Exhausting. No, I feel, for me, so Love 15 is going to be, my business going to be 12 years old next month. And I think I've always kind of been very open about sharing my journey and going through all the issues and troubles, and always trying to give like a realistic picture of what's happening. So that keeps it really simple, because there's no like pretense, there's no thinking of what to create. It's like, oh, I'm going through this today and this is what I'm sharing. So that balance somehow then becomes easier. But yeah, there are times when, I'm really exhausted at work. I have 15, 16 hour, long work days. There's a book coming out. There's so many things happen. And then something does take a toll. And you have to be okay with that happening also. And just being like, okay, I know this is happening. I know this month is busy for me at work. What can I plan ahead and what can I do in advance so that everything doesn't fall on my head at the same time, or I don't, and luckily now I have a team that I work with. So I can sort of delegate some of that work. It becomes easier. But yeah, it is challenging nonetheless.
Right. Also, for everyone who wants to know about podcasting, tell us your key tips, tricks, what's worked for you, what's not worked for you.
So I got into podcasting about 4, 5 years ago because I was learning French, and I just felt that the medium was so great to learn things. So it really depends on what you are, as a podcaster, what you want your audience to get from you. I listen to podcasts when I'm traveling, so sometimes I just want to listen in on conversation. Sometimes I really want to learn something from the people I'm listening to. So for me, what really works is. Um, at least as no sugarcoat as a format is very straightforward, where we get to the entrepreneur's journey and I try to understand what they've been going through and kind of helping young entrepreneurs with their journey. So that format really works. I think the the lesser I plan, I feel the better things turn out. The more I try to micromanage conversations and the more I try to kind of you know uh, try to lead conversations in a certain way, I feel, or the more I prep for it, I find it to get more tedious, and I find it's not as organic as it is when two people are just sitting and really talking about their struggles and worries. So for me, that kind of prep work just involves, just not speaking to the person before, not asking them any questions before, but actually just starting and being like, hey, what's up, and going from there.
That's so strange because I'm completely the opposite. And I think it's the OCD in me that I just need to prep. I need to know my guest. I may not have spoken to the
Yeah.
person, but I've always found luck in people, being pleased that they know those little moments about you, and then you bring that up in
Yeah.
conversation. I've always kind of framed, what is going to be sort of the title or the key message through this story.
Yeah.
So I don't deviate because, when I listen to podcasts, sometimes I feel like people go all over the place, and then I
But you
feel,
can edit. It's
yeah,
great.
you can edit, but sometimes the essence is just lost. So
Yeah.
I just feel, and also people are so pressed for time that I feel like, coming to timing, have you
Yeah.
found a sweet spot saying 15 minutes? Is it? Do you like long form, short form? Have you stuck to a time
So
limit?
my podcast team kind of has this thing where I have an internal clock. So when 35 minutes are up, automatically I'll start wrapping up, and they're like, you just kind of know that this is happening. So I
Yeah,
do a lot of, so the previous question, I do a lot of prep on the guest, but then I try to see what, because as I've been as a guest on many podcasts, right?
yeah,
And the thing that I hate the most is because you're asked the same questions over and over again. And I
yeah,
just feel that research in terms of, okay, this person has already spoken so much about this, how can I bring the same conversation but with a different light? What can I ask differently?
yeah,
So, and that really happens when you ask, like, slightly, and that's when I like to go with the flow and kind of see where the conversation
yeah,
goes. But timing has never been an issue. I think that for me, that 35-40 minute, even when I'm listening to a podcast, is a sweet spot.
yeah. And for anyone who's starting out, what would you recommend should be their ideal duration?
It really depends, like I can listen to podcasts sometimes for 2.5 hours, and I want more. Sometimes even a 20-minute one, if not executed well, is too much.
Yeah,
So I would say, this is a rhythm that you have to find, try to identify what your people, that your listeners are identifying with. I think to start small, 20-25 minutes to hold someone's attention and have that attrition is great. And then after that, if you see that you need more time, then build on that.
right. Also, while we're on the podcasting question, everybody wants to know, and we asked a couple of audiences as well, and they said everybody wants to know, how do you get discovered as how does your show get discovered? What really worked for you?
So for me, luckily, when I started 4 years ago, the podcast market or scene wasn't as crowded as it is today. And I think it was that being at the right place at the right time when no one was talking about Indian entrepreneurship as much. Now, obviously, it's a different case, and things are slightly different. But I had that head start of building in a time where it wasn't as crowded. I also think that luckily for me, because my already my Instagram and my social media sort of distribution was large enough, it was easier for me to kind of market it and distribute it a lot better. But I do know that there are different companies that help you with this, that do SEOs, that do sort of, that help your podcast become more discoverable. Exactly for, for a young podcaster, how to go about that is something that even I still need to learn a little bit more. Do you know what has helped you, or what, is there something that you
Again,
can
i
share?
was i was i was just one lucky like you. I started way ahead. So I think one of the things that I've learned from a lot of the creators is that always anticipate, or kind of, when you see the opportunity, jump, don't think too much.
Hmm.
And I think if you keep coming back to your why, stick to a sweet spot and know what's the sweet spot for your audience, right? Like, we have two shows, and one is for kids, one is for parents. For kids, we know 2 minute is tops, and we need to give that sort of information within that. And for the parents, we know that, whatever, it's not about what's trending, but what's kind of working, what's going through within them at that point in time, and just bearing it all, right, just keeping it very,
Hmm.
very real has kind of worked. Because I think people think that, acha, video nahi hai, audio hai, you can fake it, but trust me, the conversation, like you said,
In
just
fact, I feel like the barriers get broken because
yeah,
video is not there. And
yeah,
sometimes you're just like, it's so intimate because you feel like you're talking to this one person only.
yeah,
And that the what you can create with that space is, I
right.
feel, far, it feels a lot safer than video does, actually, to be
No,
honest.
absolutely. I completely agree with you. And Pooja, I have to ask you this, that, you seem to be doing so much. Like everybody sees you everywhere. Do you, as a creator and an entrepreneur, feel like you're giving up on something? Like what? I'm sure that we all pay a price for everything that we get, right? What's the
Yeah.
price you're paying?
Um, Honestly, I feel that the reason why it also appears that there's it's just been a format in which everything comes out at the same time.
Yeah,
So whether it's the book, whether it's a podcast, things align in a way where everything sort of, so it's actually series and years of work to get things out. So whether it's a new line of cookies that I've been working on for
yeah,
3 years, a new book, etc. But when everything comes out at the same time, everybody feels like, wow, this is so much and this is so much that's happening. But it's about just being consistent on a daily basis. So I think for me, my work days now are very structured, and I've kind of made life. So, to go back to your question, when I started Low 15, what did I give up on was really a sense of a personal life, right? Because I was working 16, 17 hours a day. I was not seeing my family. And then you realize that that's not sustainable. And you realize that that's not the kind of life you want to live. But would things have been different if I had done things differently in the start? I would never know, right?
yeah,
But for now, I feel like I'm choosing me, I'm choosing my time. If I want to take a break from something, I take a break from it. I don't get pressurized by the numbers or the engagement or any of that. And I keep going back to what you said, the why are you doing this? What is really bringing you joy? Is this really still bringing you joy? And if it's not, then how do you change it?
right. And on the joy and the numbers, the joy, the numbers sometimes bring you joy, sometimes they don't. And all creators and entrepreneurs get extremely demotivated, or at least fuzzed for at least a couple of hours, if not more, on looking at the numbers, whether it's on a new book that you put out, a new series that you've launched, or a new product that you launch. How do you deal with how do you one benchmark what you want for each of those products or services, and again, and what happens when you don't achieve it? How do you pull yourself up?
That is a good question, and it is a tough one as well. I feel the good thing about me doing so many things, and the good thing about having so much activity happening, is that there's never any time to sit and ponder and worry, or be like, this is because you're already onto, like, okay, I'm creating something else. So I
Yeah,
think for me that really helps, is that I'm in the present and I'm in the moment and I do something and I'm like, okay, this is great. Obviously, it's heartbreaking when you put your whole heart and soul into something and it doesn't perform the way you want to. I think that it's always important to kind of then learn from it, right? Instead of being bogged down that it didn't, try to learn why it didn't. Okay, I'll give you an example. Like my first book that I ever wrote was a great success, big bestseller, everything. And the second book I wrote, which is more like on healthy treats,
yeah,
didn't perform as well as the first one, and I was heartbroken because I did everything so much better for the second one. Better writing, better everything. And then when it went to my third book, I was like, okay, what went wrong? What does the market really want? And I was like, okay, everyone is asking me for eggless baking, and I'm going to listen to that. And then my third book was based on eggless baking, and that surpassed all numbers ever. So I think
yeah,
it's also trying to understand why someone is coming to you, what do they need from you, and what kind of gap that you're filling, and try things, right? It's entrepreneurship is just like shooting really darts really fast and seeing what sticks. I think content creation is exactly like that. Your feedback loop is so fast. So I think just that, right? Like, don't look at failures as failures, but just a direction to what can I do better next.
right. Also, you almost developed your D2C line. I mean, it is kind of the buzzword these days, but you were working through it all through the pandemic, almost like a redirection after the cafe shut. If someone's listening, and whoever's listening and considers changing directions, what would you suggest to them to keep in mind? Like, what are those tent poles that
Yeah.
they should watch out for?
That is a very good question as well. I feel like for me, shutting the cafe was heartbreaking when the pandemic struck, and suddenly you had like sort of no help, no support. You didn't know what was happening. Money stopped coming in. What do you do, right? And for something that you built from scratch, that was a teenage dream for me to realize. My soul was crushed, and I cried a lot. And for many days, I didn't know what to do. And then I went back to that question of why am I doing this, right? Like,
Yeah.
and Low 15's vision and mission has always been about spreading joy and taking you to a better place. And I thought about, okay, if my format has changed, does that mean that, why does the product need to change? If someone was enjoying a hot chocolate at the cafe, they can do the same thing at home. So the thread and the DNA of the company remains the same, only the way someone is consuming it now is different.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of motivated me, kind of gave me some sort of comfort in knowing that irrespective of things that happen around me, I can still find a way to, make this work. And that's exactly what we did. And then the first day when we launched our hot chocolate and sales surpassed all expectations, that just kind of gave me, some sort of, it was like, yeah, you're on the right track. It's okay. It's a little detour and a little pivot, but you're working in the right direction.
Right. I feel, Pooja, also one of the questions that comes to me, and I've seen the brand over the last 12 years, and I feel you just have got your branding really, really right, right? And I see a lot, and I see your team behind the scenes on it. Would you? And that's something that a lot of people, like, you know invest the least amount in it, right? Whether it's even creating a cover of your podcast, whether it's the packaging, whether it is, the logo of your brand or whatever. How much importance would you give to the branding part of whatever you're creating?
I think that is the most. I think that was the first thing I did when I started Love 15. Even before I knew what the products would be, I knew, I worked with, my brand team, my friend, brand team, my friend who still continues to work with us. But that's what we did. We sat together, we dreamed up the logo, we dreamed up what the vision for it would be, how people would, because that's the first thing that people see, right? It's what speaks for the brand, and I think that's extremely important. It's also recollect, like that, it's top of mind recall, because for example, we just put an Eiffel Tower in our logo, and we're like, okay, it's French, it's smart, let's put an Eiffel Tower in there. But now all our boxes have the Eiffel Tower, and irrespective of where you are, 12 years later, when you see an Eiffel Tower on something food, you will think of Low 15. And that just happened because we were so, like, we've been driving that through for so many years. So I think it's
Yeah.
crucial, and I think that it's whether, someone uses a pink screen to put all their content out, and you see it, now you can identify it, right? Like, you see Faye D'Souza's post and it's a Faye D'Souza
Yeah.
post, right? And you
Yeah.
see, so that's, yeah, that's
Right.
extremely important.
Also, one of the last few questions: how do you map the popularity of presence on other platforms and the impact and the numbers that they're creating? So, let me break that down for you. If you have, over 7 million plus people on an Instagram, how are you mapping that from a numbers perspective to how many people are coming onto your podcast? Or how do you basically set those goals for yourself? Like, अच्छा इतने लोगों को तो सुनना चाहिए, otherwise it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, so for the podcast, I haven't mapped it as much, but for Low 15, we map it quite a bit. For example, we'll do activities like a Low 15 Taste Club, and
Yeah.
we'll open that up to the Instagram audience, or we'll
Yeah.
do like, and it's crazy because we'll see that conversion happening right away, and seeing how many people are signing up for it, how many people are actively baking with us, and so not just consuming the content and liking something, but actually, participating in it actively. So that has been quite interesting to map and see, and actually grow for Low 15. For the podcast, I think season one was fairly, like, since it was new, it was organic, everything was, it was easily mapped. Now when we do season three is when I'm going to get into all these metrics and this data analysis and all of that. So maybe I'll be more suited to answer this question after season three.
Super. Last one. What's coming up next?
Whew. What's coming up next is we are starting our all India macaroon shipping. The cookies are going to be available at stores across the country. There's a lot going on. I'm working on the next book already. I'm planning to climb Mount Fuji in August. And at some point, I want to take a break. with all that's happening. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, super, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Last question, that if I may add in, do you sleep, or how many hours do you sleep? Every time I wake up and I check stories in the morning, and I'm like, okay, Pooja's clearly not slept like way
I
much.
sleep 7 to 8 hours. It's extremely important. I just have learned how to plan my days well.
Okay. Pavan, I hope we did a good job. We're bang on time. As always, women are extremely efficient. So over to you.
Thank you so much. If you want to take in audience questions, I think there are a bunch of questions here in the
Yeah, do
Q&A
you wanna
tab.
do you wanna read them, because I can't seem to read
Okay.
them.
There's one question. I can also just show it on the stage here. What's the best thing as a creator you can do as an entrepreneur? Which is the best platform according to you? And I mean,
What's
I think both of you are entrepreneurs, creators, and both of you can answer this.
Mansi? Are you?
Yeah. I think, guys, as a creator, for me, the best platform is where your audience is, and earlier on, because ours is a parenting platform, I realized that my audience is not on a Twitter. So we didn't try to populate. It wasn't our number one priority, because you cannot be prioritizing every single platform. So identify where is your audience, and decide the platform on that, and also what's the kind of content that you want to create. So it'll also depend on that. If you want to create a video content or audio content, of course it lends itself accordingly. But I would say whichever platform, and this is coming straight up from an entrepreneur more than a creator, is whichever platform you choose, doesn't matter. Just make sure you own your audience and you're not dependent on a platform, because tomorrow if the platform becomes a second or a third best for your audience, you are not stuck without an audience. And I think that is very, very important today's time. Own your audience. That's it.
That was a great reply, Mansi.
Yeah, Pooja, you want to
Uh,
add to that?
yeah,
No,
if you want to add.
yeah, I think that that really makes a lot of sense. For me, currently, because I've been spending so much time on Instagram, and food is really like, a medium that works very well in that platform. That's for me what is priority now. But I'm really enjoying discovering other platforms and building on them too. So I agree with you that go where your audience is, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can take one more and then I'll move to the winner announcement because I'm getting DMs here that when are you announcing the winners? um, in exam, when you relate this. Okay, I think this is also something that I would want to know. Can you share any examples about when you realize that it's time to delegate versus you continuing to doing something? And this could be about your entrepreneurial things as well as, let's say, in content creation. Do you like hand over scripting or research of your questions to somebody, or audio editing to, let's say, do you delegate that, or how do you manage it? Both of you, and anybody can answer.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because as an entrepreneur, I think when you start out, I think delegation is the hardest task for everything, right? Because you're so used to all of us are like, entrepreneurs are kind of control freaks and everything has to be in a certain way. And so delegation is the toughest one. But I think when you realize how much more you can achieve if someone kind of is helping you and not everything has to be on your shoulders, I think that for me has been life changing. So over the last few years, whether it's with the team for Low 15 or for with my podcasting team that does all the research, that does everything, and then fills me in, I think it's really, really helped me.
Yeah. I would just add that when you start realizing that you are the bottleneck in a lot of the decision making, like
Mm,
everybody is waiting for you, and things are getting delayed. I think that was like a nirvana moment for me, that boss, you need to do this quick, otherwise, you're going to delay a lot of, and that sets a lot of frustration in the team as well, delayed decision making.
yeah. Okay. I think I'm not gonna keep the nominees more waiting for who the winners are. Let me just share my screen and do a little bit of PPT and screen sharing here. Uh, So, quick context about how the winners are decided for NBC. There's a jury and there's also a public voting that was involved. So, how the jury evaluates based on scoring of few parameters like creativity and how do you engage with your audience and the uniqueness of your content, or the consistency that you put up, and all these parameters, and we club it with the public votings that will be there, is how the winners are decided. So just want to give that bit of context and also some numbers about uh, like there were more than 10,000 nominations. 1,000 were specifically in the audio category. These are independent musicians, podcasters, and podcasters not just in Hindi or English, but in a lot of regional languages also, which was very, very, exciting for us also to see as entries. And then we sent the top few to the jury to evaluate based on the number of votings and based on their profile. And here are the top 5 creators that we're going to announce today from across these different categories in the audio segment. To just let you all know, every winner of every category, like the top 50 winners of NBC, will be getting 1 year of Skillshare subscription for free. You can learn more than 35,000 courses that are there, all entirely for free. So just go ahead, upskill yourself, whatever you want to learn with respect to writing, content creation, filmmaking, podcasting. You can learn all of that for the next 1 year if you are one of the winners of the Next Big Creator Awards. Starting from the fifth person who's rewarded in this category, and the fifth rank is Mohammad Muneeb. If you are here, Mohammad Muneeb, who also known as Alif, if you are here in the chat, or if you are friends with Mohammad, please just tell him that he is one of the winners of the audio category. Um, the fourth rank here in the audio segment was Karan. Karan, if you are here, or any of the folks from HT Smartcast are here, just give us a heads up. Just comment yes that you are here in the chat, and we'll be happy to congratulate you here. The third rank in the audio category was Abhay Maheshwari, and this again is through the jury evaluation as well as the public voting numbers that we had. Now coming to the second rank of the audio category was Rohini Ramanathan. I was so happy and surprised to see so many amazing podcasters, RJs, independent musicians in this space, that you're like, oh wow, this is so great to have such talented folks into the winners this year. And now announcing the first winner of this category, who's going to receive a cash grant of 50,000 rupees along with the Skillshare subscription and multiple other tools and mentorship and community participation from us, is Nachiket Chire. Nachiket, if you are here, please just drop us a text in the chat and we'll be happy to connect with you. And just want to congratulate all the winners here on being the internet's next big creator. And thank you so much to Pooja as well, who helped us find these winners in the audio category for us. Any of the winners are here, I just want to know. Okay, Abhay is here. Abhay, congratulations. I hope this was a great process and entire month-long campaign that we did. Anything, Pooja, do you want to flash few tips or want to congratulate the winners before we end this session?
No, big congratulations to everybody. This was a very tough decision, and to go through all the great content that's out there. I truly love doing it, and thank you for having me. And yeah, congratulations, everybody.
Great. All the winners, just please DM us and we'll let you know what the next steps and what the next processes would be. But feel free to enjoy all the sessions that are happening. We'll connect with all the winners separately in the evening today. And thank you so much once again, Pooja, for the help in evaluating and finding us the next big creator, and also Mansi for helping us with this moderation and having such on-point questions. I think it was really fun and exciting to listen to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.